So you want to go to Egypt? Well, here's what you should know before you go. My name's Christian, and I have over 12 months of backpacking experience across over 35 different countries. And I recently just got back from doing 2 weeks in Egypt, and there's a lot that I wish I knew before I went. Number one, transportation. You're most likely going to fly into Cairo because it's the cheapest airport to fly into Egypt from. But the problem is getting from the airport to either your hotel, hostel, or Airbnb, whatever your situation is. The number one thing I recommend is not to take taxi and not to take the subway or any bus from the airport, but to take Uber. I have never seen Uber so cheap in a country before. The Uber ride from the airport to your hostel or hotel, if it's in downtown Cairo, it's going to be about a 30-minute drive, and it's going to cost you less than $5. Once you're in Cairo, it's actually really easy to get out of Cairo to go visit places like Dahab, Aswan, or Luxor. For example, Aswan and Luxor are in the south of Egypt, and it's really convenient. The train goes right down there. So the train's going to cost you about $15 if you don't want a sleeper car, but be warned, it is about 15 hours. The sleeper car for non-Egyptian citizens is pretty expensive, so it's going to be $80 for a shared room or $120 for a private room. It is definitely worth the experience. It is an experience, okay? You are not getting what you paid for, but doing a sleeper train in Egypt, riding through Egypt is a pretty cool thing to see, but be warned, it is definitely not worth the money you're gonna spend. And if you want to head towards the coast, something like Dahab, Egypt has a really great bus system that you can order online actually, and depending on how much you want to pay is the quality of bus you're gonna get. Nothing's more than $25, but you can spend $10 and get the really not great bus, or you can spend a little bit more money and get a pretty air-conditioned, nice coach bus. But if you do find yourself going to the south like Luxor and Aswan, which I would totally recommend, do not take the sleeper train back. Honestly, you can get an $80 flight from Aswan or Luxor. It's going to take you 1 hour and it'll take you right back to Cairo International. It saves you so much time, and if you're doing the sleeper train, it's basically the same amount of money. Number two, the best things to see. So if you land down in Cairo, or if you're going to Cairo at all, there's two main things that you're going to go see. Obviously, the number one is going to be the pyramids of Giza, but let me warn you, I would say in Egypt overall, that's probably the worst experience. Don't get me wrong, seeing the pyramids and the Sphinx are really cool, but the pyramid scammers are just super irritating, and they really do kill the experience. They're going to pretend to be police officers. They're going to try to charge you for things that you've already paid for or that you don't need to pay for. They're going to come up and try to put things in your hand, and then once it's in your hand, they're going to try to make you buy it. Just ignore all of them if you can, but if you get a guide, they will leave you alone completely. They do have respect for the guides, but for tourists, they really do. The pyramid scammers, not Egyptians, but the pyramid scammers really do see you as a tourist and for money. Second, the best thing to do in Cairo is the National Museum of Egypt. That is going to be an all-day experience. You can spend anywhere from 4 to 6 hours in that museum just looking around, and you might not even see everything. There's even a mummy that's 5,300 years old, and it's a baby mummy. It is one of the coolest things you'll ever see. Just be warned, there's no AC or fans in the entire museum, so it does get very hot, and they are in the process of moving some of the things in that museum to a brand new museum, so some of the stuff isn't there, but when you go in there, you can actually see King Tut's mask, which is full gold. You are not allowed to take any pictures of it. It's in a really dark room with security, but seriously, from anything you've seen in the movies, it is that incredible. Next is the temples. The two main temples that you have to go see when you're in Egypt is going to be the Karnak Temple, which is in Luxor, and then Abu Simbel, which is all the way down in Aswan. Now, the Karnak Temple is one of the largest sites in Egypt. You can actually spend anywhere from 3 to 6 days just exploring the temple itself, like the temple grounds. They are massive. Again, I got a guide. I think the guide really makes a great experience. You don't need a guide for all of the days, but at least one. But what I would say is if you're in that area near the Karnak Temple, Valley of the Kings is pretty close to there, but get the balloon ride in the morning. So in the morning, about 4 a.m., you're gonna book a balloon. It costs about $40. They're gonna pick you up from your hotel, drive you to the balloon site, and you're gonna take a hot air balloon above the Valley of the Kings and the Karnak Temple, and it's quite beautiful. I would definitely recommend doing that. And what to skip? It might be controversial, but I think you can skip Valley of the Kings. It's pretty incredible, but it's not that incredible when you compare it to Karnak or Abu Simbel. There's really cool hieroglyphics in there, but you're gonna gonna see hieroglyphics in basically any temple that you go to. Number three, the big thing is price. Look, Egypt is incredibly inexpensive. For the typical backpacker, including accommodations, food, travel, experiences, you can do Egypt for under $30 a day. Trust me, it is that easy. Nothing's really too expensive, especially when you're coming from a country outside of Egypt. And a big thing to remember, the typical summer season is not the tourist season for Egypt. So if you go during the summer months like June, July, August, it's gonna be extremely hot. However, everything is 50% off, like all the temples, all the museums. And if not, if you're a student, try using your student discount, because they're offering student discounts basically everywhere in Egypt. And if you can save yourself a little bit of money, why not? And an honorable mention is going to be the Nile River cruise. I didn't personally do it, but I met a lot of people who did it, and they said to do the 4 or 5 day cruise. Don't do the 7-day cruise. They said the 7-day cruise kind of takes too long and it feels like it's being dragged out. One thing to remember, so the Nile River cruise, you can book all the tours and stuff I booked on Get Your Guide. It was the best price that I could find for all the guided tours. But for the Nile River cruise, it is very much going to depend on what cruise you book is what boat you're going to get. There are older boats and newer boats for the Nile River cruise, so it's kind of luck of the draw. Read the reviews and find out which boat is best, because there is a drastic difference in the quality of boats. So that is what you need to know for going to Egypt, and what I wish I knew before I went. But sometimes you need to go to these countries and make some mistakes to learn for yourself. Anyway, feel free to ask me any sort of questions in the comments below, and we'll be doing our next country next week at Sunday at 6 p.m. So I'll see you then.